As you can see, we're still keeping tabs on all activities going round. Earlier on, Roots Party leader George Wajakoya had mentioned how Raila Odinga did not hate any of his enemies and they're just there to show their support. They're not inclined towards any political affiliations of 2027. And let me throw it back to Bondo as we have a bishop who's going to address the media, just showing the preparations and highlighting what is set to happen and what is expected to happen.
When the school began, and Mama Ida Odinga, besides being an Anglican, she's been able to put up a multi-million project, a library and a media hub. Through that work, we've been able to make a canon, a rule, an example of the Anglican Church, which makes the entire of this alumni to come with us. We have the principal here with us. We have the priest in charge of mission in the diocese. We have the member and leader of the Mothers Union and the entire of us team here. Besides coming to condole with Mama Ida, we also want to tell the nation that let us have hope. From the Bible we read of the nation of the Israelites people, the kind of feeling that the community here could be entertaining, a feeling that we've lost a leader. There's a brooding pessimism of people who think that there's no tomorrow. But as a church, we want to assure people that there is hope. When the Israelites thought there was going to be no leader, he raised up a leader like Samuel, like David, like Gideon, like Deborah. So Raila is gone because he's mortal. But keep to this pace, a leader will emerge who can even be as powerful than Raila. Because there was Jaramogi, and when Jaramogi left, that is where he pointed. But Raila emerged, and it's become so international. So a leader will emerge. God does not leave his people in suspense all the time. Let us maintain this hope. We are going to participate in the services today and in the services tomorrow, and God is going to bless us. Let us just have hope.
As clerics from the South Nyanza region, what impact did Raila have on the church generally?
The building of the multi-million project at Uganda Girls, and then the work at Toruba Girls High School, which is named after me, and then other schools, because our interest has been schools. Besides the church, we have the schools that we sponsor. Not just the Anglican school also, but Catholic schools and others that I may not know. So that impact is heavy enough. If we don't talk about politics, there's what we're able to touch and say, his hand is here and here and here. And that nudges us to come here without even invitation.
Maybe on a personal level, what memories do you have with Raila Odinga that you can share with us and, remember him as well?
Yes. Personally, one time when we were having lunch at the home of his mother-in-law in Stella in Uriri, he told me to keep to the work of the church and not to meddle into politics. And we were making jokes by saying, what is the difference between politics and church? So we were laughing over it. And we were saying that when we talk about people's liberation, the church also will talk about that. Only that, then we're making a joke that in the church we can have decorum, but in the politics, you may not have the decorum, and we're laughing over that. So those are some of the memories that we can have about close contact with Raila Odinga.
And then just in line with that, how can you comment about Raila's relationship? How did he balance politics and church?
I think that was the grace of God. Every generation, God raises a person who is so unique. In our generation, we thank God that we're able to see him. He had a way of balancing humility and courage. That's strange. Politics and religion. He wasn't just in the Anglican Church. One time His Excellency was making a joke that is Raila an Anglican or a Legio Maria? So that was the unique thing about him, that he was able to be here and also visit others because his people were across all the religions. That art of balancing made him to be the enigma that he was. Yes. Thank you. God bless.
Haya, kuna shabiki hivi. Ni nani? Chukua. Oh.
Members of the press, we are here to condole with the family of the late Prime Minister Raila Odinga. It is important to be here as we await the burial tomorrow. We were in Kisumu and we have viewed the body, and we saw the large crowds that have turned out to give Baba a befitting send-off. So today we are here, and just to ensure that all the program is on course, as we hope to receive His Excellency President William Ruto tomorrow for the burial, and of course the Deputy President Kithure Kindiki and the entire team. So I'm also here to see my colleague Senator Oburu, who is the party leader of ODM, and other colleagues as we mourn. This is a painful loss for all of us, a painful loss as we saw, and the people in this region and indeed the entire country are mourning. It's a first.
How will you remember Raila Odinga?
Raila's contribution to politics, his resilience, the way he has stood for the defense of humanity and fellow countrymen, Africans, and protected democracy, not just here in Kenya but elsewhere in the region, is something that I will always remember. Of course, as a political figure, he is a leader to emulate, a selfless leader who stands for principles and change. I mean, all the space that we enjoy in this country, including the 2010 Constitution, is a result of what Raila Odinga stood for. He's the reason I'm in politics, I must say.
Now, speaking about him being the reason you're in politics, do you mind sharing some of the personal memories that you have with Raila?
Yes, I said that I had previously led the law societies in Kenya and East Africa and Africa, and did not intend to move beyond and to get into politics. It was because of the constant engagements I had with Baba that at some point he told me that I should move to elective politics and represent the people of my region. And that is why I found myself here. And I think the constant advice, constant molding, and the constant concerns about the people and the need to work for our people is why I said it was important for me to join politics. Thanks to Baba.
Thank you very much.
That was Tom Ojienda, Kisumu Senator, just hailing the late retired Right Honorable Raila Odinga. Right Honorable Raila Odinga, hailing him as a leader, a true leader, a democratic leader who wanted the better of the nation. Earlier on speaking was Reverend Dr. Simon Edward Onyango from South Nyanza. He was just hailing Baba as one of the leaders who wanted to see development of the Luo Nyanza region, and through the projects, the sponsorship of the girls' schools, the education program in the region as well. And as we can see, the leaders, they're all remembering him for all the great work that he has done, not only for the region, but also for the nation and Africa at large. But as earlier on, we were also seeing some images at Opoda Farm, where residents, as you can see on the screen right now, security apparatus are really having a difficult time managing the crowd outside. As the crowd is building up, they want to be able to be allowed to entry into the Opoda Farm residence, and they're saying they're demanding to be allowed in. And earlier on, Kira, we had spoken about this, that they need to be wary about the swelling crowds wanting to just have access to the farm. Even as this is a state funeral, the military ought to ensure security parameters are well in order. And what can you say about this?
You know, you cannot instill security measures to the culture of a people. What we need to do is to understand them first, and we allow them to mourn their style for purposes of ensuring that people feel they have been given a chance to mourn one of their own. Because Raila, yes, he was a national leader, but there is a background to which he comes from. We must appreciate This is how they mourn, and we must give a lot of latitude to them to feel that they were given a chance to mourn Raila. Otherwise, it can create a lot of vent pressure on the state apparatus and also on the individuals dealing with the issues of mourning. It is important that a people must feel they are bringing to a closure a loss of one of their sons. And Raila was not just an ordinary son. He was greater than life, and therefore Raila ought to be given that dignified send-off, but also full of community acceptance that we had a chance to mourn Raila. Even those who will sleep there, they may not even see the body again. Those who will sleep around the place, they will be playing a lot of loud music, whether within the farm or even within the vicinity of Jaramogi Oginga University, and also the primary schools around there. And even those who just find themselves, they cannot get closer to the place, they park on the roadside and they will enjoy feeling that they are part and parcel of Raila's mourning process.
And Senator for Kisumu, Tom Ojenda, has talked about Raila's resilience. He's talked about Raila being a protector of democracy and more so selfless.
Yes.
Do you share the same sentiment, and in what instances?
I do share, because Raila navigated very difficult landscape. You remember him being arrested many times, being incarcerated, being taken to detention without trial, and many other things, either out of imagined or suspected crimes that is said to have committed. I remember, the one that I remember most is the way he was gotten out of the house of the late Honorable Dr. Hoki Hokombaka, and taken to various places, committee, tortured, put in isolation, and all that was a contribution to the fact that this country needed to look at new constitutional dispensation and bring back multipartyism that had been taken away through an act of parliament.
Roots Party leader George Wajackoyah also hailed Raila as a leader who forgave his enemies. What are some of the things that even the leaders, today's leaders, can be able to learn from him? Because is it that he truly forgave, moved on and said, now let me make several handshakes and forget the atrocity that I went through, considering even in his memoir saying the torture that he endured during the Moi administration? What are some of the things that even our current leaders can be able to learn from Raila?
To learn that this space called Kenya is a space that is shared by many people, those who have achieved, those who have not achieved, but they are part and parcel of the national discourse. In that case, we must accept that you cannot have it the way you want. Many of us who have been in politics, we find that at times when you are getting into a position of leadership, you do not understand the full details. Yes, I was a member of parliament for 15 years before I became a minister. And those 15 years, I had a different perspective on how government operates. While I knew, I used to read from the books and with the training that I got. But when I got into the ministry, I was now looking at the ministry from within, and it had its own dynamics that are different from what you imagine. I would want to encourage those who are on this political space to ensure that whatever you do, take into consideration the views that are at variance with yours. I remember the Honorable Mother Karua telling people that if you are in government, amend the constitution in such a way that it will allow you some latitude of freedom when you are out of government. This is the same way we would want to urge those in the opposition, those in government, to ensure that look at yourself on the mirror to ask yourself whether what you are doing is in consonant with the requirements of the rest of the republic, or you are doing something that will be seen to be one-man show or micromanagement of the affairs of the nation. It is important because we are here today. Somebody else will be here tomorrow. Ask yourself, whatever I'm doing today, will I be so scared that I don't want that cupboard to be opened because there are many skeletons? And if the answer is yes, then stop doing that, because one day you will not be there. And Baba today is not with us, but his cupboards, when you open them, he had arranged them very well. That's why Winnie told us that Mzee prepared us, even for the funeral beyond his lifetime.
For sure. And when Wajackoyah says that Raila loved his enemies, I would actually want to understand, and I'm very curious to know, you worked with Raila even in cabinet. At a personal level, what were his attributes? I mean, when he was happy, how would you know Raila is not happy today?
Would he bang tables when he gets angry?
Yeah,
perhaps I did not have the opportunity to see him bang the tables, but I know he was most annoyed after the announcement of the 2007 general elections. But he was the least to see him bang. He was the least to bang tables. I remember there were other people who were saying, well, we shall take you to Hague. And they themselves were taken to Hague. Raila was not. So the issue is that Raila was able to realize this is a crisis. And beyond a crisis, there must be a resolution mechanism. For every crisis that does arise, society will be left better if that crisis is handled in a more mature way, in a way that everybody will feel they have been listened to. As you know, whenever there is somebody is offended and is allowed to verbalize whatever is offending him or her, at the end of the day, that person comes and he can be talked to and will resolve the issue. So Raila understood that this country is bigger than all of us put together, because Kenya is not Kenya without each and every person. Those who vote for us and those who vote against us, those who like us and those who hate us. And that's why he was able to galvanize this country. For 20 years, 50% of Kenyans believed Raila was the right president, and 50% believed otherwise. But still, even those who did not vote for Raila, all the time when there was a crisis, they would ask, where is Raila? And at times, I would ask the people from my backyard, why do you want Raila when there is a crisis? Why don't you resolve this crisis yourself? But they felt Baba had the last voice to resolve a crisis, at least for the last 20 years.
All right. As you heard, Reverend Simon Edward Onyango from South Nyanza was hailing Baba of some of the projects that he had contributed to the community. And just to take you back, because we had cut you short before we took the link back to Kisumu, when Raila was the Minister of Roads under NAC, Kibaki's administration, and we were talking about the infrastructure that was being brought about, the expressway, the superhighway at the time. And this meant houses had to be demolished to pave way for this infrastructure. And this saw a lot of battles, that Kibaki's administration saw a lot of battles, because people went to court to fight the demolition of their houses, the demolition of some buildings, you know, because infrastructure needs to be paved way for. How did Kibaki's administration, how did Raila manage to, even under Kibaki's administration, to overcome all the battles that were there and say, you know what, this is for the advancement of the nation? And beyond that, tell us a bit more about Raila's development projects for Kenya.
Yeah, it's very interesting, Helen, because as I said at the beginning, before I was cut short, is that there was a lot of goodwill for the government of the day. Remember, we were able to improve our tax collections without instituting new measures. We actually reduced the VAT from 18% to 16%, and yet we collected double the amount the previous arrangements were collecting. Then there was the issue of the policeman being arrested by Raila because he wanted to take a bribe, or he was soliciting a bribe. Then there was the issue from Ngong Road all the way to Ngong Road, Yaya Center, all the way to Lavington. That road from Yaya Center to Lavington was full of kiosks.
I remember.
And those kiosks were removed. Sincerely, personally, I did not know that there was a road from Yaya Center to Lavington. It was opened up because anybody was living around Mugoiri Road in Lavington. You would go all the way to Lavington first, then you drive backwards through some routes like Odaya Road, then you get to Mugoiri. That opened a lot of bottleneck. Then there is the road from Aboratam that goes through Kileleshwa, behind Kileleshwa, all the way to Methodist Church, around where we used to have what we were calling Mwenge House. That is another road. Then now the road that elicited a lot of challenges is the one from near Nairobi School that goes all the way to Nyari. That is where many houses were demolished. But remember, these houses were actually built on road reserve, because you know, at the beginning of time, I think in the early 20th century, those roads had been designed. But people, out of convenience, because this place has been like this for 20 years, they assumed that was some kind of plot. And people were sold those plots, they built without taking due diligence to know whether this is part of the road reserve or not. So what Raila was doing was implementing the vision of the government of the day, the vision of the previous arrangements, including the colonial period. Because most of these roads, some of them were designed in 1901, 1907, 1940, depending on which period that was designed. So he was able to stem because also President Kibaki, when he knew you are on the right track, he supported you. If he knew you are on the wrong track, he would allow you to make amends and apologize to the public wherever it was. But some of the people who took Raila to court, they lost because they had taken that piece of land out of impunity that existed in the previous regime. That is how Raila succeeded. And he understood these roads in a way that some of us, of course, I'm not a down-dweller. I came to Nairobi when I was elected a member of parliament in 1989. But he knew Nairobi because I think he had been here before. He had lived in Nairobi even before he became an MP. So he knew these roads. And therefore, he was implementing what he felt was right. He was not going into somebody's land, taking it away without compensation and building a road. That was not him.
Yeah, you've talked about his involvement in development. What would you say was or will be Raila's greatest legacy? If a Gen Z was to be asked, or if we take his history to books, what would be that specific thing or legacy that Baba or Raila is leaving for Kenya?
He stood for allowing independence of institutions and allowing institutions to operate according to their own internal dynamics. That is to say, even if you are the head of the executive, you must allow constitutional offices to operate, such as Lands Commission, Public Service Commission, without undue influence from the chief executive of the country. That is what Raila stood for. In one sentence, he actually wanted everybody to feel they have a right to what belongs to them.
Okay. There were so many actors when it came to the Constitution, but why exactly does Raila stand out? Yet there were so many players.
There were many players. I remember a draft was brought to us in the cabinet, and we read it, and we were able to make our contributions. Then the same constitution was taken to Kilifi. It came back with most of the positions altered. And therefore the referendum of 2005 was banana orange, where orange stood for what we had already agreed in the cabinet, and banana stood for supporting the status quo at the expense of the reality. So Raila was able to galvanize the public because the Kilifi draft was not reflecting the wishes of the people in Bomas of Kenya. Of course, you remember even when it went to Naivasha, it's one of the compromises that he made. When they went to Naivasha, with now the draft that heralded 2020 constitution, there were certain sections that were changed. We were going to be a parliamentary democracy. But in Naivasha, because they wanted to fix him, they went the opposite. And the mongrel that we have today is a product of the Naivasha trying to fix Raila. But Raila realized if I was to contest this, it will not be useful. He agreed with them. And they did not know, because they wanted Raila to be seen is a bad fellow. But Raila realized, no, let us accept whatever it is. He supported that constitution, and with the late Mwai Kibaki, for the constitution to be what it is. If I was asked, and I'm not a lawyer by any stretch of imagination, what can we do about the current constitution, is to do what we call an audit. We ask ourselves, you've served us so well for the last 15 years, which are areas where we can improve, and which are areas where we can navigate and canvass the public opinion for us to have a constitution that is working for us. Otherwise, this constitution is neither Westminster nor American style. It is somewhere in the high seas between America and British. And it is not akin to the French style where there is a prime minister with capacity to run government, whose tenure is determined by the president whenever is not able to sustain the job that he has been given. So what we need to do is to ask ourselves, what kind of democracy do we need in Kenya? Are the counties that we have the right number to have? How can we do it differently? How can we improve the resources, getting to the ground, where we are saying now education, issues of agriculture, issues of healthcare, they are devolved, but you are devolving the functions and you are retaining the money at the headquarters. These are some of the issues that we need to sit down as the people of this country or this republic or this state or this nation and say, what can we do better to make sure everybody is happy?
And when you look at it, is this a document issue or implementation issue? Because if you look at the 2010 Constitution, it's not fully implemented. And so is it an issue of people not implementing, or do we need to relook at the document? Because we've seen different attempts to actually amend during BBI, and lately there was NADCO report. Is the problem the document or the implementation, where when I get to power, I feel like there are clauses or sections that do not favor me as a leader or my ideologies, and then we look at trying to amend it?
It is a product of both. And of course, I told you that I'm not a lawyer by any stretch of imagination, but I would have expected the tradition that we had from 1963 to the time we had the 2010 Constitution was a way that the executive was represented in legislature through ministers. And if I was to be asked for, as a layman in the street, how can we do it better? I would say 1/3 of the ministers should come purely from outside. And 2/3 of ministers should come from members of the National Assembly or whichever, basically National Assembly. And those who come from outside, they become ex officio members of the National Assembly for purposes of that interaction between the minister and the member of National Assembly. Many problems can be solved over a cup of tea. When I was minister, there are some MPs that you could sit down, you agree, and the question does not have to be raised at the floor of the House. You call him to your office, you discuss with the officers, and you're able to give some kind of guidance to the officers on how to address the issue raised by a member of parliament. That has something to do with the document. But also, there is the issue of the paradigm shift that leaders need to understand. That the fact that you are the president, the fact that you are the leader of the minority leader, that is what you are calling official opposition, does not make you have a straight neck or a stiff neck that because I'm the president, because I'm in the opposition, I have to oppose everything that the government is saying. So it is something that we need to change our paradigm, to realize that leadership does not only emanate from State House. You can be a leader even in the street.
We'll come back to you, but I'm told we have to move to Opoda Farm, where Jeremiah Kioni from Jubilee Party is speaking. Let's listen in.
Ifanya kazi kubwa sana zaidi ya kuwa ya kwamba watetea wa Kenya kwa kila jambo. Sisi kana wana Jubilee pia alitutetea sana wakati chama chetu kilikuwa kinanyakuliwa, na alisimama kitete na sisi, na bila baba hatungekuwa na Jubilee siku ya leo. Kwa hivyo tumekuja tu kusema pole, na pia to remember that what he stood for. And I believe that the best way that we can remember Baba is to continue with the fight for the good of the common man or the common person, because that is what he did all through his life. Na wengi ni wale hawakumfahamu. Uhuru Kenyatta was able to capture who Baba was to this country. Kuna wale walikuwa wanamfikiria yeye ni is a tribalist, but he wasn't. wale walikuwa wakifikiria he is a divider, but he wasn't. Kuna wale walikuwa wanafikiria kwamba alikuwa akifanya mambo ajifaidi kwa fedha. That was never his goal. He was always there for the people. Na hii kitu yake ya kuongea akifanya mkono namna hii, when you are in the room with him, was a very warm thing, and he used to welcome all of us. When we were in Azimio, whenever there were disagreements, akikaa pale kwa kiti, within some 5-10 minutes, nyinyi wote mmeelewana na mmepata safari. Kwa hivyo sisi kama Jubilee na pia wana Azimio, this is a sad moment for us, but we thank God for those of us who are able to work with him, and we got to understand him. And I can tell you, we are here in Kisumu because of who Baba was. That is what has brought me here in Kisumu. And the fact that he was also a brother to my party leader, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta.
Unaweza tuambia kibinafsi, ulikuwa na uhusiano gani na Raila, na utupatie kumbukizi moja ambayo utabaki nayo licha ya kuwa ameondoka?
Tulifanya kazi karibu sana wakati wa Azimio. Na alikuwa akinipigia simu, ananiambia uko wapi Jeremiah? Ananiambia niko hapa. Kuja asubuhi tunaingia ndege tunaenda pande hii tukiwa juu kwa hewa. That was another Raila. And alikuwa naijua Kenya hii hata livers. Nakwambia ile ni that liver, hiyo that is about that for this county. Ile nyumba ni ya fulani. That is Raila for you. On air he was also something else. But he was Baba. Baba was Baba. And that's why we are here.
Kama viongozi ungependekeza nini haswa ichukuliwe? Naona Mama Ida anawasili hapa, na picha hizo ambazo unaona ni Mama Ida Odinga akiwasili kwa mara ya kwanza katika makazi haya. Tafadhali songa. Asante sana. Naam, picha hizo ambazo unaona ni Mama Ida amewasili na Rosemary pia nimemwona akifika hapo katika eneo hili katika makazi yao ya Opoda Farm. Wamewasili kwa mara ya kwanza tangu kifo cha mumewe Raila Amolo Odinga kutangazwa. Na kwa sasa naam, jinsi unavyoona Raila mkewe Aida Odinga ama mkewe Raila Odinga, Aida Odinga amewasili katika eneo hili na viongozi wanaelekea kumpokea. Viongozi ambao walikuwa wamefika katika eneo hili wanaelekea kumkaribisha katika eneo hili. Kwa sasa tutajaribu tu tupate picha hizi. Kumbuka kwamba mtu mwingine ambaye alifungua milango hizi ilikuwa ni Oburu Odinga akiwasili kutangaza rasmi kuhusu kifo cha Raila katika kijiji hiki ama katika makazi yake hapa. Kwa hivyo picha hizo ambazo unaona ni kwamba maafisa wa KDF wamefunga lango na kukinga wale watu ambao wanaingia katika makazi haya. Picha ambazo unaziona ni kwamba mkewe Raila Amolo Odinga, Aida Odinga, amewasili katika makazi haya, na nimemwona akiandamana na wanawake. Nimemwona Rosemary akifika hapa. Kuna mtu ambaye alikuwa anajaribu kujiingiza kwa lazima katika eneo hili, lakini wamekabidhiwa na maafisa wa polisi na maafisa wa jeshi ambao kwa sasa wanatoa usalama katika makazi haya. Kwa sasa tunaelekezwa kuondoka katika eneo hili, tusonge tu tuone kwa umbali. Endelea tu, unaweza kuwa live bado.
Yeah, there you have it. Those are images from Opoda Farm, where the Secretary General of Jubilee, Jeremiah Kioni, was earlier speaking. But also we saw Raila Odinga arrive at her rural home. That's in Opoda Farm, and a bit of scuffle there, Helen, if you saw that. I think it's someone who was trying to make their way in, but the security did not allow him, which means security is actually very tight there, Helen.
I believe that would be the case because at this particular moment, I believe even if you are a relative, a distant relative, you may just not be allowed in. You have to be either the inner circle of the family to be allowed in because of that security that you can see there, because that is special unit, I believe, standing outside guarding the home. And even outside, as we had seen the scuffle earlier, this only shows that they will have to reinforce more security at Opoda Farm tonight, especially because of the activities up until now. The viewing will come to Bondo area. In Siaya. And also we'd just like to know, we'll keep you updated of what is happening on the ground in Bondo, whether the crowds can be managed. But if we move over also to Kisumu, we can also see the crowds are swelling up on the other hand. So this is something also security really needs to be on the lookout for, because the numbers are really increasing as we had anticipated or spoken about before. And I hope the committee as well had anticipated all this unfolding today and tomorrow as well.
Sure, Helen. And one thing I'm trying to figure out as I sit here and look at that crowd, I'm trying to look at that crowd and I can't see how the formula is for these people who are coming in to view the body. And I think we should be linking up with Michelle Ngele Odhiambo, who's there to just tell us how this formula or format of people coming in to view the body. Is there an entrance and an exit where you make sure that those people who've already viewed the body do not come back and end up keeping these people or mourners there for hours? Because if we don't have a way to control that crowd, it might look like we may not have people moving from Mamboleo, or the body moving from Mamboleo to head to Opoda Farm.
They had said that this the viewing would end at around 3 p.m. But I believe from the number of crowd, the increased number of crowds that we are seeing in Kisumu, there's a possibility that this event could lapse over, and they could be short of time today even to get to Bondo. So let's just hope things will be well managed. But Michelle Ngele, who is in Kisumu, will inform us more about what exactly the development in Kisumu.
Helen, we're also yet to find out where exactly the viewing, because previously, Siaya Governor James Orengo mentioned that the community in Bondo will be allowed to view the mortal remains of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, but we haven't clearly found out where exactly. Will this be at the university? Will the body go direct to Opondo Farm? And so those are some of the things that maybe we'll be finding out from Ruth, who's there, and getting back to you or informing the public.
All right. Yeah. Kira, back to you. Where Raila really fought for devolution, and right now we're even where we are, 2025 now, we're seeing a push for some counties saying they want functions of the county governments reverted back to national government. You had mentioned that resources follow functions. Devolution cannot work if the national government is holding the resources. And now we have issues in various sectors. We have even just national, even a national issue, the teachers issue, county issues, healthcare workers issue, has really been prominent in this administration, you know, and they're saying, hey, you know what, if the county cannot manage this, let's revert back. We're taking a huge step ahead through Raila's development agenda, and then now it seems we're trying to take 10 steps backwards. What is the way forward?
Well, as I said at the beginning, it's a product of two things. One is to do an audit of the Constitution, and when you do an audit, it doesn't mean that we reject anything that is in the Constitution. You make sure that the things are not getting implemented the right way. We ask ourselves, is it the human error, or is it the human decision, or is it by the conditions provided for in various articles of the Constitution? The way I see, perhaps those who are saying we revert back to the national government are people who are frustrated by the fact that some of the things that they expected to be rolled out fast on the ground are not being rolled out. The second issue is that possibly, as we said, like corruption was devolved. Devolved in the sense that almost every county manager, that is the governor, has one problem or the other. Either a problem of inefficiency, a problem of pilferage, or also a problem of fraud. And that's why you find many of them are in court today. These are some of the issues that we need to elevate them and distill the issues so that we're able to separate. Those are a product of human involvement, and those are a product of constitutional constriction in terms of implementation. It is something that I feel there is need for us to be dispassionate about public resources, put it in our mind that yes, I'm a custodian, that I'm holding temporary custody of the resources of the county. And therefore tomorrow when I exceed, I shall be answerable to anything that I did or failed to do in the office. The second issue is the fact that we need also to do what we call social re-engineering, to allow our people to understand when you are a leader, they should measure you according to what you did in the office for the public, not what you amassed while in the office. You know, at times when the public sees you either in an old car or in a vehicle that is seen not to be within the keeping standards of a minister, they say, what did he do for himself when he was in government? As if amassing of wealth is one of the attributes of a leader. And I say this because when the late Kenneth Kaunda retired in Zambia, he had the equivalent in his account of $10,000. Likewise to Nyerere. And Nyerere, when he retired, he had only 52 acres of his ancestral land. Today, if you have a minister who has less than 100 acres, then that fellow is in trouble. And that trouble comes from the villagers.
All right. Let's now cross over to Kisumu. We have Michelle Ngele on the line. Michelle Ngele, could you kindly update us what is happening on the ground at this particular moment? And is there any order, actually, once you view the body? Is there a way out? And how is security managing this crowd?
Well, Wangeshi, it's about 4 hours since the public viewing of Raila Odinga kicked off in earnest here at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium, commonly known as the Mamboleo Stadium in Kisumu County. Now, the scenes here have been quite chaotic. No sooner had the public viewing of the body begun than police and security officials started struggling containing the surging crowd that was showing up here at the Mamboleo grounds. It 30,000 seater capacity stadium is currently full to capacity, with thousands of others still waiting outside, all to catch a glimpse of the late Raila Odinga. Now, just a few hours ago, about 2 hours ago, we had security reinforcement here on the grounds, and many security officers now came with dogs, extra security men from the grounds, all trying to bring order as more residents try to see the body of Raila Odinga. And what you can see behind me, Wangeshi, is that thousands and thousands of mourners are yet to view the body of Raila Odinga, and though the process is ongoing quite smoothly, what the security committee had envisioned for the situation here really isn't what is happening. The plan was that as soon as mourners view the body, then they all leave from one gate. But what we've seen so far is the crowd breaching the barricades. In fact, even where the media teams are stationed, the crowds breached those barricades. They breached the middle of the stadium itself, very, very close to where the casket carrying the body of Raila Odinga currently lies. Now, security officials have managed to contain the situation, but more mourners continue to stream in, carrying placards, chanting Raila, chanting Joey, many of them singing songs in praise of the late Raila Odinga. Any moment from now, we're also expecting the arrival of Siaya Senator Oburu Odinga, who's also the elder brother to Raila Odinga. Many other dignitaries were here earlier, urging the residents here to be peaceful and maintain calm as they view the body of Raila Odinga. And we can report that really, as much as they were agitated and looking forward to seeing this body, it has been pretty smooth. No incidents of violence have been witnessed. What we have seen, though, Wangeshi, is very raw outbursts of emotion, especially for those who have viewed the body of the late former Prime Minister. And we have medical teams on the ground, Red Cross is on the ground, and they're doing quite a good job, dealing with those who've been overcome by grief. Many have fainted, many have been carried by the ambulances after being overcome by emotion following the viewing of that body. Now, this process was expected to end at 3 p.m., after which then Raila's body is expected to be transported by road to Bondo into his home in Opoda Farm, where he will spend the night before he will be laid at his final resting place at Kango Ka Jaramogi. However, it remains unclear whether the 3 p.m. timeline will be maintained. There was quite a bit of delay beginning, but again, this is a program being run by the military. We know they're very serious when it comes to time, and so it remains to be seen whether 3 p.m. we will be leaving with the body on our way to Bondo, or whether the security officials have decided to now lift the body to Bondo. On the road from Kisumu to Bondo, hundreds and hundreds of mourners have lined up, all waiting to catch a glimpse of the body after it leaves the Mamboeo Stadium here. And so we continue keeping an eye on this situation. We have about 2 hours before the process completes, and we are waiting for the Siaya Senator Raila Odinga to give the next way forward. Back to you in studio.
Michelle, just before we let you go, is there a specific order in which those who are going into the grounds are leaving, so that they create more space for those who are yet to view the bodies, so that also we have enough space for people to do that? Michelle, I'm told Michelle is gone, but we'll still come back to Michelle to also get to find out, because I saw previously there are some mourners who are receiving first aid, and also I think Michelle would be in a better position to talk more about that.
And actually through her link she did mention that the medical team on the ground is providing some form of support because the crowd is overwhelmed, those who are overwhelmed with emotion. So you could find this could also be psychosocial support as well, counseling services, so they can be able to have an outlet, because everyone handles grief differently. And one of the things that she did mention earlier, which we're not yet certain, is that whether the plans could change. The body is set to be transported by road. But she did mention that they're not certain whether they'd change and airlift the body. So we're waiting to see whether that would be possible due to the crowd, the swelling up of the crowd that we're witnessing
also
now.
Yeah, sure, Helen. I also don't know whether, or we still yet to find out whether we will have more time extended for viewers for mourners who will not have viewed the body by the time it clocks 3 p.m. When the body or the procession is supposed to leave Mamboleo grounds to head to Opondo. But coming back to you, Kira, we were talking about the gains that have come through efforts of Raila and like-minded people. And the drafters of the Constitution had talked about having a maximum of between 14 to 16 counties, which did not take place. Also, initially you had talked about some sections or issues that you think people twisted Raila during the Naivasha meeting. Do you have specific issues that maybe Raila wanted either removed or added into the 2010 Constitution that did not take place?
Well, the most fundamental of them all is the issue of the kind of government we'll have. Is it going to be parliamentary, or is it going to be akin to the one of the American nation? And the initial suggestion was parliamentary, but some people wanted to look for a way of making sure that Raila is on the other side of the equation. So they talked of, okay, we are not going parliamentary, we are going to deal with the parliamentary way, then we bring the situation as is today. But Raila realized that this was a trick to delay the heralding of the new constitution. And he accepted, okay, if that is what you want, we're going to accept that. That's the information I got from Naivasha. Remember, that time I was out of parliament and I was in Ethiopia, but I was following keenly the issues of the constitution because it is a very important discussion for the people of this country.
Okay. Wangeshi had mentioned something earlier, which if you are a political student, you see it playing out. There are times when, especially now with the essence and element of devolution at play, could it be that sometimes also when it comes to political business, in the game to have friends, allies, and avoid enemies, you end up giving the wrong people positions, yet then it removes all the gains?
Yeah, you know, there are about 2,000 positions that any executive can give to after elections, including those of ministers, permanent secretaries, chief parastatals, chiefs, and many other positions, chairmen of various institutions, including universities, chancellors, now that we have chancellors being appointed by the executive. All those positions, my fear is that they become like tokens given to people that you feel they were part and parcel of your team. And it doesn't mean when I support you, I improve in terms of my integrity, my capacity, my intellect, and my wish to serve the people of Kenya. I strongly believe, and that's why I'm still persuaded, perhaps by my own analog knowledge, by splitting the cabinet into those who come from people's representative, so that if I'm a member of parliament for X constituency, I can also be a minister. But we reserve a number of them to be for so-called specialists or experts. Because these experts, I don't see them. There's no difference between me, if I'm a sitting member of parliament, and somebody else who were in the same school, same university, we did the same course, and we qualified. Perhaps he was better than me, or I was better than him or her. Then you call him an expert just because he has not gotten involved in the political game. If you are an expert, you will be an expert. But at times I feel somebody who has gone through an election, it is an additional feather to your CV, because you understand the frustrations an elected person goes through. But if you have not gone through that election, you will think the president will be re-elected just because he was elected in the last election. But if you have gone through that process, you will realize to be elected needs a bit of effort, and need a bit of PR, and a bit of service delivery, so that your man or woman at the top becomes somebody likable by the people out of the work that you've done on his behalf or on her behalf.
Do you actually think that the current structure is actually more of just listening to the person who gave you that opportunity as opposed to working independently? Because, as you say, if I go to cabinet from parliament, it means I already have my seat with me, which means if I leave cabinet, I'll still go back to my seat, as opposed to the people who currently are out from outside parliament, who may feel like they have to listen to the executive because they're the ones who have appointed them.
Yeah, that's the whole tragedy about it. And what really I hate, today if you I was elected either Senator Trans Nzoia or MB Cherangani, I'm not suggesting I'm running for those offices. I would hate to be told, step down.
Yeah.
We want to appoint you as a minister. Because we have to make choices. And any position of leadership is as important as the other. And you see, there is something else, Wangeshi, that I always see. I know many of my friends, including James Orengo and Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, transform themselves from senator to governor. I always believe that if you have to lead, you take a certain position and you do it so well that everybody will say he was the best senator. But this issue of switching positions for convenience is a sign that possibly there is something else that you are interested in, but not the leadership of the people. Because if you gave me a county, such as Nairobi, and I'm your senator, and people are happy with me, why should I want to confine myself to a job that I'm given by somebody, and the following afternoon I can take away that job? This is something that I feel we need also to change our paradigm, and also appreciate that leadership is not about money. Leadership is about your availability to serve the people within your means and within your capacity.
Some people would actually argue that it's input versus output. What you bring to the table, because that's how it looks like. When you play politics, is how much are you bringing to the table? What numbers do you have? Even when we talk about coalition, you look at them in a way that the people or the leader within, can just use an example as Azimio. You see Kalonzo will be bringing people from Ukambani, Baba was bringing people from his backyard, and it looks like it's a game of numbers. So when will this person from Turkana lead this country?
It is a bad manners that we encourage from independence, that if you come from a small community, you have no capacity to lead a bigger community. Because this is not livestock, that if we have 1,000 animals, the person who has the biggest say is the one with 800 animals compared to the one with 10 animals in that flock.
Right.
Or in the flock. Remember Tanzania, the first president to come from minority is the late John Pombe Magufuli. He comes from a community that is considered among the top 5. The founding father of Tanzanian nation, Mwalimu Nyerere, comes from a small community with either 2 or 3 or 4 MPs, followed by the late Ali Hassan Mwinyi, who comes from Zanzibar, an area considered to be almost a province of Tanzania. The third president, Benjamin Mkapa, comes from the southern region, the Machinga community, considered to be also a minority. Jakaya Kikwete comes from Bagamoyo, also considered, perhaps some of them, part of the slaves that were left as they were taking the rest to abroad. Also a small community. The first one to have been elected from a large community is the late John Pombe Magufuli. The current president, if she's re-elected, also comes from Zanzibar. But here in Kenya, we believe it's my tribe, your tribe, and our tribe that will make us now win the power of the state. And therefore, when you win, you have to please your community, you have to please yours, and have also to please mine, so that we look that we are running the show in the country. The rest of Kenyans don't matter. And this is the paradigm that we need to change. We should be deliberate that yes, you come from a large community, we appreciate your numbers, but also appreciate our small numbers, because we also matter, because we are part and parcel of this country.
Do you believe there will come a point in the country where that will change?
Yes, I have a lot of hope in these young people. You call them Gen Z, millennials, I don't know what name I can give them. I say they are my children and my grandchildren. They are the people who are going to change this paradigm, so that if you are a good person, we don't ask who is your mother, who is your father, from which part of Kenya do you come from. We say, Ellen, you are a good person. Wangeshi, you are a good person. Whether you come from a large community or a small one, we determine your worth by the content of your character, not by the number of your tribesmen or women.
Raila was able to attract leaders from different regions, and we have talked about that. Is there a formula, or is there something that the new leaders who are emerging need to learn from him that would actually end up bringing this country to a level where we are working with issue-based politics as opposed to tribe-based politics?
Well, that's my prayer. That is my prayer. But you see, when you see galvanization of the communities, just like the other day, telling Gideon to join William Ruto and not run for Senate, is part of the past politics that we need to ignore. Gideon Moi can be part of the opposition or the ruling party, depending on what the wishes of the Kano people are. But when I saw that, I said, if William Ruto was not selfish, he should have allowed Gideon to go to the ground, win that senatorial position, then persuade him to be part of Kenya Kwanza through some kind of working arrangement. But when we go back to that, and at times some of them, they tell me, what are you doing there? We are here. You are there, I'm here also. We are in the same space called Kenya. And if we don't sacrifice to say, I would rather lose as an individual, but win where my heart is, then we are taking back Kenya to a situation that even our founding fathers did not have that in mind. You remember, the only time we had serious politics at independence is when we are talking of two formations, KANU and KADU, where KANU was saying Uhuru na Umoja. That is, Uhuru with national integration. And Kadu was saying Uhuru na majimbo. That is, we want Uhuru, but allow us to determine our leadership in our regions. That's why the people of Western Kenya, except the Maragoli, were in Kadu. The Kalenjin nation, they were in Kadu. The people of the coast, except for Taita Taveta, they were in Kadu. And they elected Ronald Gideon Ngala indirectly, and the rest elected Jomo Kenyatta indirectly, because Jomo Kenyatta was supported by Raila's father. And that's how Kanu won against Kadu.
All right. And speaking about, speaking about the issue of the handshake, the recent handshake with Gideon Moi.
Yeah.
That handshake came at a time where things were a bit, if you really delved deep into the issues. Is it that now maybe President William Ruto believed that the broad-based government was not going to hold water eventually, or what's your take on that?
Well, I think he was trying to exercise some caution because he knows, that, as well as all of us know, that even Rift Valley does not give him the total support that he enjoyed, the Kalenjin Rift Valley, that he enjoyed in the last election. There is some kind of attrition, but that attrition still leaves him with the bulk of the Kalenjin nation. But in reality, he realized that there is certain wind of change that is sweeping across the Kalenjin land, especially among young people. If people are to be honest, and without people being sort of threatened, almost in every home, the GNCs are thinking different from their parents.
Yeah, and we'll come back to that.
Okay.
But I'm told we have to go to Mombasa, where Kevin Mutai is standing by. Kevin has had to talk to, he's actually talking to some mourners who are actually planning to attend the late Raila Odinga's funeral in Bondo. Kevin, what do you have for us?
A condolence desk has been set up at the County Commissioner's office in Mombasa to allow members of the public and mourners in general to pen down their tributes to the late former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. Of course, this is also an opportunity for those who did not manage to travel down to his rural home in Opoda Farm in Siaya County for the burial, just to express their feelings about Odinga and his contributions in shaping Kenya's democracy. With me here is Mombasa County Commissioner Mohamed Noor, just to bring us up to speed on what's been happening since the opening of this book. I can see so far quite a number of people have signed. First of all, just tell us, how do you remember the late Right Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, and during the period that you've been in public service?
Ningependa kusema kwa majina naitwa Mohamed Noor Hassan, County Commissioner Mombasa. Na leo tuko hapa hii kitabu ya condolences ambayo imetoka Nairobi, ambayo tunalika watu wa Mombasa wakuje waweze kutoa heshima zao za mwisho kwa Mheshimiwa Raila ambaye ametuacha. Mimi nakumbuka kwamba Raila tumewahi kutana nikiwa DO Nairobi, DO Embakasi, 206-207 wakati post-election violence. Nimekuwa huko na tulifanya kazi mingi sana wakati wa hasira ya uchaguzi na nini. Tuliweza kuongelesha wale watu walikuwa wamekuja wamechukua manyumba za watu nini. Tulikuwa tunawatoa tunawarudisha kwao. Wale walikuwa wametoroka hapo Dandora nikahakikisha wamerudi kwao. Baadaye pia tuliweza kutana akiwa Prime Minister. Alikuja Njoro nikiwa DC wa Njoro, na baada alikuja ni pale naitwa Mauche, na alikuwa anashughulikia mambo ya title deed, na pia kusema wale wako kwa Mau Forest watoke tuweze kutunza hiyo forest. So ni mtu ameweza kusaidia sana hiyo mambo ya Mau Forest na nini, kuona kwamba tunatunza hiyo area for future generation. Watu waweze kupata maji na nini hizo vitu, na tulifanya naye kazi mingi sana huko.
Kwa hivyo unaweza sema ni mtu alikuwa aina gani?
Ni mtu mzuri, mtu ako na heshima na kuheshimu. Na pia Mombasa tulikutana wakati wa Eid Baraza. Tulikuwa naye hapa kwa ofisi ya governor. Tuliweza kuongea, akaniuliza mambo ya Mombasa iko namna gani, kama Mombasa iko mzuri. Alikuja kusherehekea sisi na Eid ambayo iliyopita. So yangu ni kusema tu ni mtu mzuri, ni mtu wa heshima, kiongozi mzuri, na ni mtu ambaye anapenda amani.
At the Treasury Square next to the County Assembly building and the office of the governor, a section of residents from Mombasa have converged seeking transportation to travel to Siaya.
Majina anaitwa Ali Ngao Mwakandi. Mimi mkaaji wa Jomvu na mimi ni chairman wa chama cha ODM Jomvu Kuu Ward. Ya tumefika hapa majira ya saa 3 kama tulivyoahidiwa kwa gari itakuwa by that time imeondoka maybe after half an hour. Lakini mpaka saa hii bado tunasubiri wenzetu hawajafika na tumekuja zaidi hapa kujitayarisha kwa safari kwenda Siaya kwa mintarafu ya kwenda kumzika kiongozi wetu party leader Raila Amolo Odinga. Kama mnavyojua Raila Amolo Odinga ndiye alikuwa kiongozi akiunganisha watu pamoja katika nchi hii yetu ya Kenya. Na furaha yetu sisi tumejitolea. Tumeambiwa tuje hapa kwa magari lakini tumejitolea. Tutakwenda hata bila kudai kitu chochote kuhakikisha kuwa tumeenda kumzika baba yetu Raila Amolo Odinga.
Kwa majina ni Peter Alo, natoka Mombasa. Magari yako mengi na vile mwenzangu alivyosema kutangulia, tumefika hapa mapema kujitayarisha kwenda kumzika baba wetu, manake ilikuwa ni kiungulio ya taifa, alikuwa ametuunganisha sote bila kubagua kabila. Kwa hivyo tumejitayarisha na tumejitolea bila kulipwa, tuenda kumzika mzee alale salama, tutakuwa tubaki na kumbukumbu zake. Joey! Joey! Joey!
They are also requesting leaders to add more vehicles to allow all of them to be part and parcel of the convoy that will be traveling down to Siaya County.
Majina mimi naitwa Beatrice Wache Mwazige, ni mkazi wa Jomvu, natoka eneo la Miritini. Wengi walitamani kumuona Raila huku Mombasa, pengine walikuwa akifikiria pengine atafikishwa, lakini mwenyewe alisema azikwe baada ya masaa yale aliyosema. Kwa hivyo tukifika pale, hata kama hatutafika karibu, lakini tutajua tumefika kwenye mji wake, tumeshuhudia sisi kama wafuasi sugu wa Raila Amolo Odinga. Ndio.
Na pengine pia kuna idadi kubwa sana ya watu ambao wameweza kufika katika maeneo hayo na pia maafisa wa usalama wameweza kudhibiti hali. Je, pengine iwapo mtapatiwa nafasi ya kufika kule lakini mmesafiri kutoka Mombasa hadi kule Siaya, itakuwa vipi, utachukulia vipi wewe mwenyewe?
Kwa majina ni Elizabeth Akinyi Mboya. Mimi ninavyoonelea kama kutatokea shida hata iwezekane hatuwezi kumfikia, bora tumefika hiyo area, tumemzika baba. Maana baba alikuwa ni baba wa kila mtu. Inchi zote zinalia baba. Baba Raila kende wewe wanade Raila, wewe wanade Raila, waiwagi Raila.
Hii ujumbe ifikie Ruto ya kuwa Raila ametuacha kwa mikono yake, na Raila tutamkumbuka na kitu inaitwa democracy, na kitu inaitwa multiparty, na kitu inaitwa revolution. Hizo vitu vitatu. Hapo kwa democracy tunataka tuzingatie, manake tunasikia kuna bills zingine Ruto umeweza kusign. We don't know kwa nini umezisign hizo bills, hatuwezi jua ni kwa nini, lakini tunataka utuambie na utekeleze hili swala. Madam Raila ametuacha kwa mikono yako, alijua tutakuwa safe. Ombi langu ni Ruto hapa kwa majenzi, mimi nikisimamia majenzi hapa kwa majenzi, ambia polisi wasichukue sheria mkononi ya kuua watu. Tunaomba sana, manake sasa tutakuwa na machungu mara mbili. Tunaomba amani, amani, amani iweze ikue. Na wewe pia Joey, Joey, Joey,
Haya, kwa majina naitwa Florence, natoka Changamwe. Wakati huu ni mgumu, lakini tunaomba wakuwe na faraja. Mungu atawafariji. Alafu sisi venye tuko hapa, kitu tunaomba ni amani. Tukuwe na amani kwa sababu hii safari tunaweka kwa mikono ya Mungu. Sasa chenye mimi ningependa kusema ni kuwa Raila Amolo Odinga amekuwa anaunganisha viongozi Kenya nzima. Sasa sisi hapa Mombasa, county number 001, tuomba tujipange, viongozi wetu ambao wanatufaa tunawajua. Tushikane ili 2027 tusaidie, tuchague wale viongozi ambao tunajua wanaweza kutusaidia. Hatuna nyingine ya kusema, yetu tunasema tuwe na amani. Peace, peace, peace.
Kevin Mutai, NTV from Mombasa.
Thank you very much, Kevin Mutai. That's our own Kevin Mutai from Mombasa, talking to mourners and followers of Raila Odinga who want and are planning to travel to Bondo to witness his final journey, and most of them are saying the county government had said or had promised to provide them with 8 buses to transport them from Mombasa to Bondo to attend the former Prime Minister's funeral, and they don't have those buses, and they are asking the government, the county government, to make sure that they give more buses because more people are willing to travel and actually attend Baba's funeral, which is going to take place tomorrow in Bondo. Helen, when you look at this, you know, Mombasa was one of Baba's stronghold. Yeah. What does that make you feel?
This outrightly, it just shows support, love, and I don't think, Wangeshi, we will see such type of support in this country for a very long time. Why do I say that? Because these people are willing to travel from Mombasa, those beyond the neighboring counties of Nyanza, then we have Busia, beyond those counties, which are like a stone throw away. Mombasa. I'm sure there is someone in Turkana probably who just said, "Ata mimi nimeenda mazishi." Yeah. I'm sure there's someone, of course, guys in Nairobi left yesterday, and the others who are still living today. So as you look at the clear picture of the country today, these are just people who want to turn up in solidarity, to go show support, to go show respect of their final leader, their final respect to Raila Amolo Odinga. Something that we have not seen. We are saying, yes, we may not see this in a long time. Even have we seen something like this before? When it came to even other state funerals, have we seen such, you know, someone would actually say this looks like a campaign.
They're actually talking of 8 buses leaving coast or Mombasa to head to Bondo. In the morning when we talked to Ibrahim Karanja, he talked about many people having to camp and spend their night at Mamboleo grounds waiting for today. So you can actually imagine there are more people who will be coming from different regions within the country to just go and attend Honorable Raila Odinga's funeral. And just coming back to you, Kirwa, we were talking about what leaders need to learn from Raila. And Helen, I think you mentioned about the handshake.
The recent handshake,
The recent handshake, and the fact that Ruto called on Gideon Moi to even not run for his Baringo Senate seat, but join him. Did he envision that handshake was not going to hold until 2027?
Well, I don't know whether he suspected that he was going to obtain, but I told you the prime reason